Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Enough channel. In this video we're going to preview round 3 of the 25. I'm getting my team leagues confused. 2025 NRL Supercoach season. So as usual with our Thursday session, our preview, we'll look at the most commonly traded in and out players, as well as have a look at what we're going to do with our teams. So we'll go over here on the right hand side and look at the most popular trade-ins first of all. So Jesse Arthur's #1 most popular trade-in, and I do tend to agree with this. I'm very scared of not owning him potentially against the Cowboys this week, and then I think they do have a couple of good games afterwards as well. So obviously, we're not necessarily expecting 96, but the way the Cowboys have been going, there could be a bit of a score on. So the Dolphins and the Tigers afterwards. So, probably not two of the strongest teams in the league, with all respect to them. And the fact that it's at Suncorp only helps the Broncos in that case. After that, it gets a little bit trickier. I guess the Roosters, not sure what to expect from them. The Warriors and then the Bulldogs, the Panthers is probably where it starts to toughen up a bit. So I think he can make some really good cash and can even score some good points in given weeks. Payne Haas #2. So this is the guy that I'm scared of missing out on. He's averaging 100. We know what his sort of base is like, but he's just been offloading at will. So if that continues, that's great. But surely teams have got to start putting that on their tip sheet to watch the Payne Haas offload. But yeah, if you've got the funds to bring him in, I would do it in a heartbeat myself. Tom Starling at #3, I do like as an option. Looks like he's getting some good minutes there at the Raiders compared to last year where he was sort of coming off the bench and that sort of thing. And I guess the competition at the moment is just young Owen Paddy. I do think medium to long term Paddy will get more minutes, but in the short term, I think Starling's going to continue to play that big minute role while Paddy gets up to NRL speed. So I do like that trade in as well if you're looking for a hooker. Jamie Humphries at #4. I guess obvious sort of swap there for Tom Duffy, who's out this week. Looks like he's got the job there for the good period of time. Should make some good money. He's potentially playable if something happens to a Cleary or a Hines, whoever you have as your sort of gun halfback, I suppose. So I do like Humphries as well. Tamale. So the longer this week's gone on, the more I've liked this pick. I wasn't sure. I thought surely Hopewadi and Savage would be first choice, but he has sort of muscled his way in. So we'll make some good money. From all reports, he was a beast in New South Wales Cup too. So I probably didn't know that much about him, to be honest, going into this week, but have since sort of discovered a bit, and I like it. So another great trading option this week. The next two, Tino, Cam Munster. You can wait a week. These guys, their price won't change for another week. However, if you are looking to replace, say, Matt Burton, I think Munster's a decent pick, albeit against Penrith is probably going to be the toughest matchup Melbourne will have anytime soon. So, again, why I'd be inclined to have a look. Tino, I can see a world where you could use him to replace a Hosking, maybe a Tuolangi if you've got some money. I need a Tuolangi replacement in my team. But, again, you can wait a week and just get some more data. But I had him from the start, so I can't begrudge anyone bringing him in. The next two, Callum Ponga and Ryan Papenhuyzen, I'm guessing are trades in for Tommy Turbo. I think if Callum Ponga is the one being traded in, he is a hold just because he is on the bye next week. So you may be looking to trade again. What's his break even? I've already got him, so I haven't looked too deeply. 39. So I suppose if you're worried about the money it's going to cost you in round 5, bring him in this week. But potentially wait till after his bye. And Papenhuyzen, again, you could wait a week against Penrith, who he'll be fired up after their shock loss to the Roosters. Um, I think, it's a case of you can sit and wait on Pappenhausen. But, at that price, I can see the temptation of bringing him in. And Corey Horsburgh, if you haven't got him, yep, absolutely bring him into your team. On the trade out candidate list, Tom Duffy, number one. So has been dropped for Jake Clifford. You'd imagine they'll put him back in Queensland Cup for a bit and build up a bit of confidence. So I think here's one we do have to move on. Obviously, tough being a bottom dollar cheapie. There is a couple of bottom dollar cheapie hookers, not that they offer a lot of value, but I think you do have to find some cash to get to a Humphreys, a Starling. Perhaps if you started without a Sandon Smith, he'll make a bit of money in the short term. Those sort of picks. Jackson Purdue at number two. I think given that he's still got a positive break even after 2 rounds at his price, and there's so many money making cheap options, I think he's one to trade out. You want to be aggressive with those cheapy trades to make that money as quickly as we can. Jerome Luai at number three. I think this is fair. It doesn't look like he's magically scoring more just because he's at a different team without Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, those sorts of guys around him. He's scoring somewhat similarly to what he has done in the past. And yeah, it looks like Lockie Galvin is the sort of upside play there at the Tigers. Tom Trbojevic, so an interesting one. He's got the green dot at the moment, but there is reports this afternoon that he is going to be out. And based on the reports, it might just be this week, just as a precaution. So I think he's one you can, if you can, try and hold, get some more information. I guess worst case scenario, you can go next week. You might lose a little bit of money to get to a Ponga, or if you have the right sort of jewels, you could get to a Payne Haas. Obviously, guys like Munster, Paps, Tino will be on the bubble. So, there's plenty of options if you wait a week, depending on the structure of your team, your fullbacks, your flex, all that sort of stuff. Zach Hosking is a trade, out for about 6 weeks, I think, with the hand. So Matty Nicholson comes in, probably another one. Just wait a week if you can, get that extra bit of data before you commit. Jermaine Hopgood, I don't like this. You brought him in as a keeper, and he hasn't actually scored that badly, as far as I'm aware. I haven't looked too deeply at it now that I think about it. Like 58 and then a 43 in what was a well-beaten side last week. I think he can bounce back against the Dogs. Hopefully not too well as a Dogs supporter. But yeah, I don't see the value in trading him out, even if it is to a Payne Haas or whatever. You're probably going to want him back at some stage, so you're just wasting 2 trades. KO Weeks, I think it's been underwhelming, so I guess if you do want to jump ship, you could. Yeah, he sort of was a bit of a mid-range sort of speculative option at 5'8". Obviously not viable at fullback with all the guns there. So I think KO Weeks is one you can trade. Matt Burton, I think, is a trade given the injury. Should be a few weeks. Yeah, that's fine. Dylan Edwards, I think his injury isn't as long term, but probably still a trade just given that money on the bench for a couple of weeks will really hurt this early in the season. And Dylan Brown, I guess, be interesting. I'd be tempted to hold just with Dean Hawkins coming into the team. I think he is probably a better halfback than Volkman. So I'd like to have a look at Dylan Brown, how he goes with Volkman. And again, I hope it doesn't go too well against the Dogs, but as a super coach, it would be very interesting to see how that pans out. So those are the trades. I guess the other thing we'd like to look at, and I think I forgot this last week, so I apologise for that, but to look at the captaincy selections going into this week. So at the time of recording, the most popular captaincy option is Kalen Ponga. Given he plays fairly late in the round, against the Gold Coast, he's in good form, averaging 106. It points to good things. Um, and definitely in my thoughts around the captaincy this week. Nathan Cleary, so a few people just go on the straight C tonight against Melbourne. Risky, but I guess, you'd probably take whatever Cleary returns as a captaincy score anyway. Tom Trbojevic, so I guess for those people who might not have got the news or may have just left it there from last week or even round one, you do have to shift away from him. Payne Haas, if you own him, and 36.8% of people do, I think he is the safer captaincy option if you're VCing a Cleary or maybe a Munster, something like that in tonight's game. Reece Walsh, you'd be pretty game to captain him off the back of a 9-point return last week, but against the Cowboys, he could go big. So I think it's a little bit early in the season for such risks, but you've got to risk it for the biscuit, I suppose. Nico Hines, yeah, if you've got him, he should go pretty solidly against South. Teddy, again, if you've got him, you want him to be doing well against the Warriors. Who knows what to expect there. Pappy against this Penrith, I think that is a real risk. Penrith's a bit of different gravy to the Eels, so yeah, wouldn't be suggesting it. A few people VCing, which is probably more sensible. DCE, Tino, I think are both decent shouts given their solid base. Although Cherry Evans without Trbojevic may have to do a little bit of digging to look at the numbers around that. And then VC, so Nathan Cleary tonight, two top teams, lots of great players. I think there's lots of viable VC options, your Munsters, your Harry Grants, your Pappenhausens, Isaiah Yeo if you've got him. I guess Brian Toto if you're looking to get a bit adventurous. Kalen Ponga is VC, so a few people might be going Ponga into Turbo. Might be like me and just left it there from last week, so that number might change a little bit. Payne Haas, yeah, because he does play fairly early in the week, you could have a look. Reece Walsh, more sensible as a VC option. Hines, Munster, Pappenhausen, Fanua Blake, I guess he plays fairly early, so it does make sense. Yeah, so Isaiah Yeo, Harry Grant, like I said, decent options. Ruben Garrick, that's pretty brave. But I think that might be a hangover from last week as well. So I guess then the question is, what am I doing with my trades? And I'll be honest, I haven't 100% locked this in. Um, as I said, I was a bit on tilt because I do want to get Payne Haas in. And I thought, well, I've got Tuolangi, I can slide one of my second rowers down, get Payne Haas in, and then I'll work the rest around it. But realistically, we want to get Humphreys in this halfback spot. We want Arthurs in the back line. As I said, here's the one I'm super scared of. And then also Tamale looks like he's going to be really great value. So the question is, what do you do? You've only got 3 trades with a boost. Back in the day, we only had 2, so this was even worse. But what we've landed on is remembering that this is a sprint and not a marathon. Oh, sorry, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so therefore we need to think a bit longer term. And so the smart play there, I believe, is chasing the value. So we're going Duffy out to Humphreys. Very happy with that move. A few people would suggest, oh, you could go Starling, which I certainly could. But I just like Humphreys a bit better. It's just pure gut feel on that. And then Purdue's going as well. As I said, we want that quick cash. So Jesse Arthurs. So we have to find 30k elsewhere. Probably the most sensible move would be to downgrade to Alangi. But we do have Nicholson coming up next week. We can have a look. Obviously we can make some other moves and try to get up to Payne Haas next week. So what I'm thinking this week is we need to target Tamale, I don't know where he is on this list. I'll switch it to break even. He'll be a lot easier to find. There he is. And so then the question is, well, which centre wing are we trading out, or are we, doing something with Tom Trbojevic? I'm holding Tom Trbojevic this week. So it's going to be Tower, unfortunately, and it just comes down to the break-even game. If I just quickly flick on the plus, you can see negative 43, negative 70 for Toya, and then 38, negative 5 for Marzu, 31 for Skelton, and 54 for Tower. So I guess what these three all have in common is that they play on the wing, which means they do get those ball carries out from the back, which does lead to tackle breaks and the like. Whereas Tower, we're relying more on tackle busts when the Warriors are more in attack. And I think Tower could score as many, if not more, tries than these guys. But I think overall the points are coming from those wingers. So I'm swapping in Somali. We've got 250k next week, which obviously is a pretty comfortable cushion. I'll say comfortable cushion. We might need a little bit more to get up to Haas. He'd probably be up around 700 next week. But we have that. We have Fini Filiaki we can potentially shift down if he's still sort of on the outer. And then we could potentially there could be a third move that just naturally occurs. So I'm pretty comfortable with waiting a week, short-term pain for long-term gain. So I'm locking them in, and then that's about it as far as trades are gone. Because if we start overthinking and tinkering around, that's when mistakes happen. So the team lineup this week. So we'll just switch Horsburgh onto the bench since he plays last. We need to get Hetherington on field because we are struggling in the second row already. But we're going to bring in Humphreys to play this week. Eongi, we're going to give the week off. We're going to play Arthurs. Actually, what we're going to do is put Tamale on the bench. And now with Turbo out, we are going to play Eongi this week. So I guess if this mail that's going around is actually incorrect and Turbo is playing, we can just flip the reserve. If not, we'll comfortably play Tamale in that last game. So that trade works out nicely there. Campbell can stay on the bench. He just plays a bit later than Metcalf, so in case of late outs. And then the vice captain and captain. So vice captain on Cleary this week. First game. And then captaincy, there is a couple of options. We could look at one of these two big boys up front. Terrell May's been killing it against the Dolphins, who I guess have a decent forward pack, but Saturday Harvo, could be some offloads and whatnot in store. Tino against the Knights, no Leo Thompson, so I do like Tino's chances of dominating against that pack. And then obviously Kalen Ponga against the Titans. The Bulldogs made it look pretty easy to get through their defence at times. So I'm going to go with Kalen Ponga. Play for the upside. Obviously, if Cleary goes off, this is all for nothing. Tuolangi comes in probably for Hetherington as our loop option, and we're off to the races. So we could use Hubner, who's definitely suspended, but pretty sure Tuolangi's not even in the extended squad this week. So that's the team. Actually, Pakes or Smith is probably a decision. But against the Cowboys, I think Pakes has a bit of attacking upside, so we'll stick with Pakes. I think other than that, the sort of positions, picks speak for themselves. So we'll wrap the video up there. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Supercoach content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. But other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.